Hello YouTube and welcome to another video on my low-cost turbo kit car. Some of you may notice the channel name has changed and I'll come back to that in a little bit. I'd gone out for a drive, went to the motorist for a weekly meet and there was a clunk from the rear end and I thought, I should probably look into that. And it sent me down this rabbit hole of rebuilding the whole rear end. I was going to do a full video of that, but time constraints didn't really get a chance, so I'll pop in the sort of clips I filmed now so you can go through that, and then I'll bring you back shortly for the update on where we are today. The axle inside there has all been updated. We've got new washers, all been checked for backlash, etc. Obviously I'm going to give this a clean up before it goes back in the car. I'm going to repaint and things, but I wanted to show you an issue that we did find relating to the bottom bolts. So that's where the trailing arms mount on, in there at the top. They're the top trailing arms, and then at the other side, I don't know if you can see that, but it should be a hole, and it's ovaled out the hole, so the force of the car accelerating is actually bowed the metal out. I don't know if you can see that. That should be a flat line, and you can see it's actually bowed out. This side, which is the driver's side, is even worse. So that's what it should look like, and that's what it actually looks like. So again, the force that's been put on the shock absorbers has caused the metal. Again, you can see it quite clearly there, that bevel. The axle now then is going to go off to Clark Customs Fabrication. He's going to fix all that mess. Show you the other side. He's going to fix all that mess and make it how it should be. Then I can get it painted up and then put back on the car, and we're ready to go. I've had the axle fixed by Jason at Clark Customs, which is a chap I normally go to. So you can see we've got a welded on new washer on that side with a 1/2 inch UNF hole, which is what it's meant to be. And then on this side we've got a spacer, because previously I used to have some washers there and a little spacer before it rested on the shock. So shock mounts here and then goes up to the trailer arm. So we've got a proper spacer machined in there now, which should keep it all straight. Part of the problems I think was probably because of these washers that I had in there, and I'm not sure if the bolt was fully torqued up, but live and learn. It's not done any harm. We've got it all fixed. I'm going to get this all painted up now, get the bushers pressed in, and then we can get it all back on the car and working. Light's fading a bit now, but you can see I've got my first coat of paint on. Sort of matches the car, so we'll get that finished off tomorrow, get the bushers put in. Got all the bushers out of the arms now. As you can see, they're a bit grim. They've been on for 15 years, so I'm going to get them all cleaned up, paint them all up. I've ordered some new bushers. These are the ones that came out. Let's have a listen to how soft these are. So rock hard. So I've ordered some new ones of them. Arms all painted. Need to do another coat on the back side, but obviously front one's all done. It's Hammerite Hammered Blue, which is just what I had left in the cupboard, but it's quite a nice colour, and it should match the car, and the bushers that I've got are red. So that bit's all done. Obviously again need to clean up those insides. Finally got all the arms bolted up. Not done any of the bolts, obviously you can see they're all loose. Absolute pain in the arse to do an Atlas axle. I imagine uprights are way easier. Absolute pain in the arse. I'm absolutely destroyed. 2.5 hours just to do them last few arms. But we're getting there. Slowly. Some of you might have seen it on Facebook Marketplace for sale with no engine. It does have an engine, it's all back together and working. But what state's it in? Well, it needs mapping, quite frankly. My mapper Steve down in Somerset has now got his ankle working again, but obviously he's got a 4-month backlog with work. I'm really busy with my work, so I'm struggling to get time down there to map it. So I'm having to run on the map that's sort of a halfway house really. It doesn't perform at its best, but it does perform, which is all I can ask for at the moment, I suppose. It's obviously coming into winter. It's not an ideal time to drive around in a kit car anyway, because it's freezing cold, and I don't really want to spend a weekend down in Somerset in autumn or winter either. So what does that mean for the car? Well, honestly, I'd still like to sell it. The car is for sale if somebody wants to buy it, but if it doesn't sell, then I will probably get it mapped some point early next year and wind it up and see what power it can take. I'm going to put a full spec sheet down in the comments so that you can have a look and see what it comes with and what the spec is. But like I said, it does need mapping, and I've also got a bit of a problem with the synchro in 4th gear. I think I've done the synchro, sadly, so whilst it goes in you do get a bit of a crunch, but that's a common fault on these gearboxes, and I'm obviously pushing the power limits of them. So it is for sale with a few known issues, but that's how it is. These kit cars are never finished. They're never a project that's sort of complete and done really. There'll always be something that needs doing with them. I'd put the car up for sale at probably 12.5 grand. I think that's fair. Not a haggling price. I think that's a fair price. You won't get much for that, for this performance, or you won't get anything for this performance really for that sort of cost. So that's what it's up for. If somebody wants to come and have a look and take it away, then by all means please do so. Otherwise it'll sit here. So in terms of other things, what happened to the white Peugeot race car that I bought? Well, I borrowed my friend's trailer to pick that up. I drove all the way to Manchester, Warrington area, something like that, and didn't have anywhere to store it because I've only got a single garage, as you can see. So the friend that lent me my trailer, his trailer kindly said that I could leave the car or the shell on the trailer in his lockup. So I took that back over to the East Coast, which is where he lives, left it there on the trailer with a view to obviously getting rid of this and then starting work on the 205. But whilst it was parked up in his shed, I found another car for sale. It was a 205 GTI. It had an MI16 engine. It was on throttle bodies. It had fiberglass bonnet and boot. It had plastic windows. It had a roll cage, bucket seats. It was on eBay for, I think it was at 4.5 grand with several bids on there to run. So I spoke to the seller, agreed a price, which was fair, but I didn't realise that the car was in Northern Ireland. I'd sent the seller a fairly chunky deposit. It was about 5% of the price we'd agreed, and then I arranged to go over to Northern Ireland and pick it up. So I jumped on the ferry and went across to Northern Ireland. It was on the sort of warm weekend back in August. Took a trailer. Obviously ferries 400 quid, 450 quid. Got all the way to Northern Ireland in the evening. It was an 8-hour ferry ride from Liverpool. Turned up to have a look at the car, and within minutes of turning up I noticed a hole in the floor, which is never great if you're buying a new car. Now obviously Peugeots are old, fair enough, but this car had apparently been on a spit. It had been a full bare metal respray. It had everything fixed on it that was meant to be fixed. I noticed some more rust on the sills. There was some paint flaking off, and that shouldn't be there. The car was done a year ago. It's never seen any rain. It's only done sprints, and it just didn't sit right with me, to be honest. So I asked the seller what money he was going to knock off, because obviously that wasn't discussed in the advert. It wasn't mentioned over the messages and calls that we'd had. And he said, no, the price is the price. It's agreed, despite it clearly not being what he'd advertised. So I said, well, what else can we do? So he said, oh, well, I'll throw in some spares, and he had wheels and bits of bumper and loads of crap like that I didn't want, and I didn't want to be somebody's scrap man. So I said, well, okay, I'll tell you what, you keep 30% of my deposit, give me the rest back, and we'll call it a day. I've come all the way to Ireland. I'm 500 quid out of pocket on the ferry, fuel, etc., hotel. And the answer was, no, we've done a deal. The deal is the deal. And I thought, well, I think you're fairly confident this car's coming away with me no matter what, because it's probably a shed and a bit of a lemon. And I thought, you can bollocks. I'm not buying somebody else's crap at the time this wasn't working, and I thought I don't need 2 broken cars on my drive. So I told him to bollocks and I walked away, which cost me several £100, sadly. So when I got back, I started looking at my white 205 again, and I saw quite clearly now the amount of work that probably would be involved in getting that back on the road. And I thought, do you know what, this is probably a bit of a project too far for me. Luckily, the guy whose trailer I borrowed had been also looking at the 205 and thinking, that's cool, that's a good project, I quite fancy that. So me and him did a deal, and the white 205 was sold on to him. I ended up without my blue 205 that I was meant to be buying that I put a deposit on. I ended up without the white 205 race car that I'd just bought that was going to be a project to put a K20 in, and I'm back with the trusty old low-cost turbo. That's a bit of an update as to the cars. I have got some plans of things that I want to do, things that I want to buy, but I can't do that ultimately until this is gone. I'm not in any rush, it's not going cheap. This has everything in it that anyone would ever want, and if it doesn't sell, then I'll stick with it, because to be honest, I've got no other choice. I'm not throwing it away. There's too much time and effort and money, blood, sweat, and certainly tears have gone into this car, so it's not going away for nothing. But sort of give you a bit of an update on everything and what's going on. So in terms of the channel then, so where's the channel going? Well, I'm not a famous YouTuber. I don't intend to be. I don't want to be. I ain't got the time. The plan with the channel, I changed the name from Low Cost Turbo to In the Garage, because whenever my daughter asks where I am when I'm not upstairs, it's normally in the garage, or vice versa. When my wife asks my daughter where I am, it's in the garage. So I thought that'd be quite a fitting name, really, and obviously the plan was to move away from the Low Cost Turbo and get something else, get some other cars, get some other projects going, which I still intend to do. I think In the Garage is where a lot of men probably are, certainly over winter. It's just a fitting place for blokes to go. It's either their man cave, whether it's cars, computers, welding, little projects, whatever you're doing, it's In the Garage. And I thought it'd be quite a cool brand to sort of make some t-shirts and things, some car related t-shirts, and general sort of guy type merchandising and stuff. So I might start doing that over winter when I've got a bit more time. I've got lots of ideas for some sort of car related t-shirts, related clothes and things for guys that spend a lot of time in the garage. So that's where we're going anyway. That's the plan. I'm not going to commit to 1, 2, 3, 4 videos a month, because I can't clearly even do one every quarter. So I don't think I'm going to put any of that sort of commitment in. But currently, this is still here. I've got a few little things to do to it. I'm contemplating a colour change over winter if it doesn't sell, just because I've had the blue for 4 or 5 years now. So I think it's probably a good time to get it changed while I can. But other than that, like I said, it needs mapping, and I need to sort the fourth gear synchro out really going forward. So that's it. I know these videos are boring when somebody's just sort of sat talking at you. It's not the best thing in the world, but I just wanted to give a bit of an update so people know what's happening with projects and the cars that I bought previously. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching.